back to my channel. So today I'm going to be discussing planning a trip or a vacation, whichever one you're trying to take. Now, I don't necessarily think that any of the information I'm going to convey is new. Neither do I think it's necessarily groundbreaking, but it is just, a couple of things that I would say to keep in mind when you're trying to plan, a trip or a vacation. And this is really for people who maybe you are not the ones that's normally planning it. Maybe you're the one that's just kind of tagging along, or maybe for someone who wants to be a little bit more intentional or just, more structured about how they're doing their vacations. I think the most important thing that I would say, and I'm going to kind of repeat this a little bit later, but the most important thing I would say overall, budget. I think that, I hope that when you make your budget for the year, the travel is one of the things that you're thinking about if you really want to put money towards it. So when you're budgeting yourself, and that's not just necessarily how much you want to spend on, whatever your priority is, but, strictly how much you want to spend on some things, what your bills are, what your hobbies are if you're putting money towards that. I think you should also include travel. For me, for the last 2 to 3 years, travel has been a part of my budget. Since I've been working full time, I've kind of tried to travel, but when I got more serious about budgeting, I made travel an actual line item in my budget, just so I would kind of have an idea for myself how much I wanted to spend, and so I knew what I was working with. And I think that's probably one of the most important things, because there's nothing worse than taking a trip and coming back several $100s, lower than where you should be. Money doesn't grow on trees. When I talk about a general travel budget, some of the things that I would suggest including with that would be passport. A passport is something that you're going to need to travel. So if you do have to renew your passport, just put it as part of your general travel budget. I wouldn't necessarily put it towards a specific trip, just because it's, like I said, it's something that you're going to use multiple times over. If you need to buy a new suitcase, I would also put that across other travel budgets. If you're buying things like a neck pillow, eye mask, things that you can use multiple times for travel, I probably would spread across your travel budget. And, let it be things that you actually need. In my opinion, I think a neck pillow and eye mask are essentials, especially if you're going on a long flight, or if you're, going on a very, very early flight or late flight, or you just know you're going to be tired in general. I would just suggest having those because comfort. The way that planes are built these days, comfort is needed. The next thing I would say is that you should cut your coat according to your size and your taste. You might not necessarily be making 6 figures, but you might have a little bit of heights, your taste might be a little more refined. And I don't want you to think there's anything wrong with that. My friends that I travel with, they know I can definitely have my bougie streaks. I won't necessarily start going into what I do, but they know I can be a little bougie. And so because of that, I have to be willing to put forth a little bit more money than they might be on certain things. And so with that being said, those are things that you want to factor in. This also kind of applies when you think about transportation. There's some people that they will never take a Greyhound. There's people that will never fly coach. I always fly coach. But there's also some people that can only stay in certain hotels. They can't stay in a hostel. I can't stay in a hostel. I'm not going to lie. Will never stay in a hostel. But there's some people like me, and there's some people that don't care. Take those things into consideration, because they'll really help you determine your budget for that specific trip that you're trying to take. So my next tip would then be to create an individual budget for that trip. So out of your larger budget, let's say if you're putting aside $2,000 for the year, the entire year to travel, and you know that you want to travel, let's say, at least 3 times during the year, and you have an idea of, where you want to go, you're going to go somewhere local, you're going to go somewhere maybe in the Caribbean, and you're going to go somewhere a little bit further, you kind of want to plan your budget to meet that and stagger it accordingly. You don't necessarily want to spend $1,000 on the place that's local if you still have 2 other places you're trying to visit, right? So you need to make sure that your budget makes sense with kind of where you see yourself or where you would like to go for the year. So let's say that you're planning a trip to Puerto Rico, for example. Puerto Rico is great because if you are a U.S. resident, you are able to get to Puerto Rico without a passport. You do need government ID. You do need some kind of government issued ID to get into the airport, get through security, get on the plane, all of that. But you don't necessarily need a passport. And so if you were going somewhere like Puerto Rico, the things that you want to consider are, 1, the cost of the flight. When it comes to the cost of flights, I think the most important thing to kind of keep in mind is that unless you're flying south, I want to say maybe just Southwest, you will have to pay to check a bag. And that's not bad. If you're a person that you can travel with not too many things, you can, just do a carry-on, by all means. But if you know you're someone that you need to check a bag, or you're going to be somewhere for an extended period of time, or maybe you have like some liquids that you have to take with you, factor those costs in as well when you're, booking your plane tickets. I have a couple of resources that I use whenever I'm looking up flight tickets, and of course for Southwest tickets I always just go on their website, but I also use Skyscanner, and then I also use Google Flights. I think the two biggest expenses that everyone of course knows is transportation, meaning how you're going to get there, and also how you're going to get around while you're there, and accommodation, where you're staying. I think another big expense that people tend to overlook is experience, because you get to, let's say, Mexico, and you're like, oh, you want to go see the ruins, and then you want to go zip lining, and then you want to go do this, and those things add up really quick. Even if the cost of it is not necessarily the same of what it would be in the US, those things add up very, very quickly. And another thing that people also kind of forget to really account for is food. Some people can eat their way through a country, and if you're one of those people that can eat your way through a country, be ready to spend a little bit more on food. Even if your plan is to buy a lot of street food still adds up. And street food, unless you're going to eat street food breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and that's all you're eating, you're still going to need to eat real meals, so you're still going to need to spend money. So those are the kind of things that I would suggest keeping in mind. If you're traveling within the US, something that I kind of would suggest, if you go online, there's something called a GSA. And basically, if you work with the government and you travel with work, you know what it is, basically a per diem amount, which tells you, based on which zip code you're in, how much you're allowed to be reimbursed while you're doing something work related. I would actually suggest it as a kind of a good good tool to use when you're budgeting travel within the US, just so you can have an idea for how much you can expect to spend on food. Next thing that I would say is choosing your location. Location is extremely important. Your location will kind of determine a lot of things. I think with location, I would also say that when you're choosing your actual travel destination, keep in mind the weather. Keep in mind, do enough research about the place to know what to expect and to know what to plan for. The next thing I would say is choosing a travel partner. Now, you can either decide to choose your travel partner first and then choose your location, or choose your location first and then decide who you want to go with. I think for me, I tend to choose my locations first, and that's just because I know where I want to go, and then I think of whether I want to travel with someone or whether I want to go by myself. And I'll just say that the good thing about traveling with someone is that a lot of the expenses, or let me not say a lot, but the good thing with traveling with someone is that some of the expenses, such as accommodation, can automatically be halved. If you're traveling with one person, or if you're traveling, the more people you're traveling with, the more you can kind of split it. But I will say that sometimes it ends up being more expensive to travel with a lot of people than to not. So you just kind of have to do your own, price comparison to make that decision. I think that everyone should do when you're planning a trip is pack in time. I think the longer my trip is going to be, the longer it takes me to pack. Like if I'm going somewhere for 2 days, I'll probably pack that morning. If I'm going somewhere for 2 weeks, I'll probably start packing a month in advance, because you don't want to leave anything behind. And I think that's one of the, going back to budget, that's one of the things that gets a lot of people. And the last thing that I'm going to mention that is, I would say almost as important as everything else that I've said, is to enjoy yourself. I think that, especially when you're taking a vacation, if you're taking a trip, or if you're, whether it's a personal trip, business trip, family trip, I'm not going to say necessarily expect a little bit of stress, but if stress occurs, whatever, roll with it. Even on a vacation, if stress occurs, roll with it. But when you're on a vacation, try to do your best going into it to, reduce your stress as much as you can, because that's the purpose of a vacation, to relax, enjoy yourself, live life, kiki, haha, do all of that, eat, whatever it is you want to do. And I really think that if you plan very well ahead of time, not only will you have a good vacation or trip, but then when you come back, you'll still be in a good mood, and you won't be looking at your account yeah. So just do yourself the favor to plan well. If you have any other tips or suggestions that you've heard of that you think are very good for planning travel, please feel free to put them below, and I will check them out. Bye.